Good, happy Thursday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday evening, so let's begin. First up, Tulsi Gabbard speaks at event at St. Eltham College. Democratic presidential hopeful speaking at Politics Unplugged event. Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard is continuing her swing through the Granite State on Thursday. Gabbard is scheduled to speak after 4 p.m. at a Politics Unplugged event at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics in St. Eltham College. See the event streaming live in a video player above. We will share a link with you after the broadcast. Vehicle strikes concrete barrier at Rochester toll area. Police say 2 lanes on northbound side of Spalding Turnpike closed in area of crash. Take a look at the photo right here. And this is a photo from the crash scene. New Hampshire State Police said a vehicle struck the concrete barrier Thursday after Rochester tolls and slipped onto its roof. The Spalding Turnpike was down to 1 lane in both directions at the crash scene, but as of 3 p.m., all southbound lanes are fully open. 2 lanes on the northbound side remain closed in the area of the crash. A New Hampshire Department of Transportation employee told WMUR that Easy Pass users are encouraged to travel through either open lane to keep traffic flowing as smooth as possible. There was no immediate word on injuries. And here is another photo from the crash scene, as you can see. We will be sure to keep you updated if we get any word about the injuries. Snow causes problems on morning commute as Granite Staters break out shovels. Some residents say they enjoy snowfall. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a 2-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Snow falling in the lake region meant a day off from school for Dustin Kuchar and his friends, and something else.
Today we are shoveling for money.
Dustin and friends weren't the only ones with the shovels out. At times, it was a heavy, wet snow that fell, making shoveling a little tougher, but there was an upside.
As you shovel, you can see that it's kind of a little bit thick, but it's in at least snow-making weather, so you can, make snowmen or snowball fights for all the kids and stuff around the area.
The more the better. We get snowmobiling this weekend, and we're looking forward to it.
And the snow was also just what Rowdy was waiting for. Scott McWilliams says his dog lives for days like today.
Well, they call them mountain dogs, but they should be snow dogs. He loves the snow, runs around, eats it, plays, throws it around, rolls in it, loves it.
However, if you were driving, it was a different story, as despite the plows that were out, the wet snow made for slippery conditions, but not impassable.
Manageable if you have an appropriate car, not something you want to go around zipping in a sports car, be driving like a crazy person, just slow and steady and easy going.
As you take a live look at Route 3 here in Tilton, you can see roads in much better shape than they were earlier. It will be important to get any cleanup done this afternoon, especially if that snow partially melts, because the cold that's heading our way would cause it to freeze over. Reporting live in Tilton, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dartmouth College student diagnosed with tuberculosis, officials say. Student can't return to school until state gives okay. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
This economy is not working for most of us. There is not one county in the United States of America where someone working full-time at the minimum wage can afford a two-bedroom apartment. The biggest problem in our economy is simple. People are not getting paid enough.
Health and Human Services says a Dartmouth College student has tested positive for tuberculosis. That person is being treated off campus and will not return until the state medically clears them. Officials say they are identifying people who had close contact with the student and who may be at risk. TB is caused by a bacteria that usually attacks the lungs and is contagious.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Tonight on WMUR News 9 at 7 o'clock p.m., Candidate Cafe Series 2020 Presidential Candidates. Let's take a look at that preview and video.
Observations at WMUR's Candidate Cafe. See these presidential candidates like never before. Pull up a chair and find out who they are as people, how they met their spouse, favorite hobbies, childhood memories. No policy talk, no campaign agenda. Just a room full of Granite Staters serving up fun questions. Before casting your vote, see what makes them them. WMUR Candidate Cafe, a Commitment 2020 special, Thursday at 7. Made possible by Dartmouth Hitchcock Health.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Plans in works for primary eve Donald Trump rally in New Hampshire. VP visits also being discussed. President expected to return to state that I love ahead of the first in the nation voting. Plans are in the works for President Donald Trump to return to New Hampshire on the eve of the first-in-the-nation presidential primary for a rally, most likely in Manchester, although details were yet to be finalized Thursday afternoon. WMUR reported last week that plans were being worked on by various entities in New Hampshire and in Washington to have Trump hold a rally very shortly before the primary, quite possible on February 10th. The date has now been firmed up. Several sources involved in the planning have now confirmed that February 10th is in fact the target date, and that plans appear close to become final, with an announcement possibly soon. Public safety officials also told WMUR that an event could be held in Manchester on February 10th. A possible venue is at the SNHU Arena, and it was for several of Trump's rallies in the state, including last August 15th. One potential logistic issue is that Democrats will pack the arena 2 days earlier than the planned Trump rally for the NHDP's 100 Club fundraiser, which is expected to attract several thousand people, as well as all major Democratic candidates. A visit by Trump would only add to the traditional primary eve frenzy that has become a tradition in the Granite State as candidates move from event to event and supporters gather in downtown Manchester holding signs and shouting in support of their candidate in last-minute efforts to sway undecided voters. And Trump may not be the only top administration official who heads to the state before primary. Sources involved in the planning said a visit by Vice President Mike Pence is also being discussed. Pence came to New Hampshire on November 7th to file to have Trump's name placed on the primary ballot. In December, Pence Chief of Staff Mark Short told WMUR in an interview that Trump will return to the Granite State before the primary. Trump has made no secret of his affection for the Granite State, the site of his first election victory, the 2016 leadoff Republican presidential primary. He nearly lost New Hampshire in the general election, and the 2020 campaign is targeting the state in an effort to revise the outcome in his favor this November. During his August rally, he said, "New Hampshire is the state that I love, with thousands of hard-working patrons who are the heart and soul of America." He said during that rally he was officially launching our campaign to win the great state of New Hampshire in 2020. New Hampshire Democratic Party Chair Raymond Buckley said a Trump primary eve rally would be the best thing that could have happened to New Hampshire Democrats. And we'll be sure to keep you updated as more details come to our newsroom. And now let's take a look at that U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the green and went up. Your Nasdaq closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the green and went up. Oil closed in the green and went up. U.S. 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed flat. And VIX closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 topped 3,300 for the first time as stocks surge on strong earnings and data. Stocks rose on Thursday to fresh record highs after Morgan Stanley reported quarterly figures that easily topped analyst expectations while investors designated solid data on the U.S. economy. Historic impeachment showdown now in Senate. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
An historic day and the impeachment showdown about to begin.
President Trump is about to become the third president in American history to stand trial on articles of impeachment.
And it all begins today. Here's exactly what's going to happen. At 12 Eastern, the House prosecution team will present the charges against President Trump to the Senate. They'll actually read them out loud. Then at 2 p.m., Chief Justice John Roberts will arrive in the Senate chamber to assume his constitutional role as presiding officer. He's going to be sworn in by the President of the Senate. Then he will swear in the 100 senators. They're going to take a new oath to do impartial justice. Then the Senate will formally notify the White House of the trial and call upon the president to answer the articles of impeachment and to send his counsel to make the case. Our team is covering every angle of the story from the White House to Capitol Hill, where senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce starts us off. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Today we will see the beginning of the next historic chapter of this impeachment. The full Senate will be sworn in as Donald Trump becomes just the third American president to face a trial in the Senate. With a stroke of the Speaker's pen and an historic march across the Capitol,
the House has passed H.Res. 798, a resolution appointing and authorizing managers for the impeachment trial of Donald John Trump, President of the United States.
This morning, the articles of impeachment are now in the hands of the Senate.
President Trump put his own personal interests above the national interests, above our national security, and if not stopped, he will do it again. For that reason, he was impeached. And for that reason, the House managers will take the case to the Senate and to the American people.
Chairman Adam Schiff is leading the team of lawmakers that will prosecute the case. Later today on the Senate floor, he will outline the charges that the president abused his power and obstructed Congress by pressuring Ukraine to investigate his rivals. Then the Chief Justice, John Roberts, will be sworn in to preside, and he will administer the oath to the full Senate. During the trial, all 100 members will have to sit silently like jurors and weigh the evidence.
This is the only body that can consider all factors presented by the House, decide what has or has not been proven, and choose what outcome best serves the nation.
The Senate is on trial. We will see whether they conduct a fair trial and allow the witnesses or conduct a cover-up.
Now, the president's team thinks it is unlikely that this trial lasts more than 2 weeks, but it's not really up to the White House. And even a handful of key Republicans say they are interested in hearing from additional witnesses. And if they can force the Republican leader's hand by getting enough support to call for new testimony and additional evidence, well, then we could see a much longer trial here, George.
Yeah, that is the biggest unknown right now. Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks very much.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.